I'm going to make an assumption that if you're listening to this, you maybe are curious about how to stop consuming alcohol. Maybe you're tired of how it makes you feel. Maybe you're tired of the blackouts. Maybe you're tired of feeling weak when it comes to alcohol, the inability to stop drinking when you want to stop drinking. You pretty much are tired of losing control or having no control around this substance. Well, don't go anywhere. Please listen to the entire thing, because we're going to talk about how to stop drinking alcohol for good and get sober forever, all right? Now, this video specifically is the fourth video in an ongoing series about how to stop drinking alcohol, how to stop consuming it on a regular basis and hopefully forever. If you missed the first three parts, I really highly suggest that you go check those out, and you can check them out right there with that playlist, okay? Take a look at them, get to know my story, come back and catch up on this one. That way we're all on the same page every single week, all right? But for those that are returning, thanks so much for coming back. To summarize the last few episodes, we talked about step one being naming the problem, because like I like to say, we can't find a solution if we don't first and foremost know and name the problem, all right? And from there, we talked about step two being understanding the triggers, the when do we drink, like what happens that makes us drink, you know, what sets us off. And then that leads into step three, which is all about the why of our drinking. Why do we drink? What feelings, emotions, trauma, the really hard stuff that is behind the reason that we drink. And of course, this is getting away from labels of any sort, because we can only hide behind words and labels for so long before we have to deal with the root of the problem. Because in my opinion, alcohol is a solution to a deeper problem that we either are afraid to deal with or we don't know how to deal with. So that's what this video series is for, and I hope it's helping. Now, today's topic, the fourth step in figuring out how to stop consuming alcohol for good, forever, and truly getting sober, is that, well, you have to come to believe in something bigger and better than yourself. People like to talk about God as they understand him, her, or it to be. Some people call it the higher power. This is not about religion. This is not about God. This is not about going to church. This is not about being a Christian or being an atheist. It's just about having something to lean on when the shit hits the fan. Because anyone can stop drinking alcohol. Like, we can all make a choice every day to put down the bottle or the glass or not go to the bar or not drink. The problem is, how long is that going to last before something happens that really sets you off because you can't handle the emotions and the feelings behind it? What are you going to turn to other than alcohol or some other form of addiction that's going to help you get through that moment so that you continually stay sober and get more sober and stronger as you go? That's why I believe that coming to terms or finding a higher power of your own choosing is really, really vital. So leave a comment, let me know if you have a higher power already, what that concept means to you. If you even like that concept, you can give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a smile emoji, a heart emoji. I don't really care, I just want to talk about it, because the more we talk about it, I think the easier the process will get. But if this makes any sense, I hated this concept when I first got sober. So I asked my friend who was sober a few years before me and still is, I asked him, like, what am I going to do if I don't believe in God or I don't want to believe in a higher power? And he just said, Clark, you know, your higher power could be a light bulb, because there's some type of amazing power or strength in the fact that, like, you can flick a switch and electricity is made and the light bulb turns on. So that's a power greater than yourself. So if for a while you pray or talk to a light bulb, so be it. You just pray to the power that makes that work. And if that keeps you sober, then that's all that matters. And so that's literally where I started. I started believing in the power that it takes to generate a light bulb to help me not drink. And then eventually, honestly, I did come to believe in a higher power. I call the higher power God, because that's just the simplest way for me to talk and release my stuff when stuff goes bad. My mom was part of my higher power for a long time. She passed on, and I realized that she was working in my life in ways I never could have imagined after she died, and I became a father, and I saw her protecting my son through some really, really dark times that I was going through as I transitioned through and into my sobriety. So again, you can, like I said, be an atheist and still believe in a higher power. You can be a former Christian and still believe in a higher power. You don't have to be any of it, and you can still believe in a higher power, whether it's Mother Nature or the universe or life itself or the wind or the rain or I mean, maybe even your children, because I would like to say that my son is definitely a better version of me and a stronger soul than I am. So when all else fails, I think about my son, the life that I want to give him, and that helps me keep going. So there you have it. The fourth step, believing in a higher power of some sort. That's for you in your own personal journey. No one can tell you what that's going to be for you. They can make suggestions just like I am, but you get to choose what works for you. But the most important part is that you're sober, you don't drink, and you continually get more and more sober the further you go on. And if you continue to do the work that we've been talking about, you're not going to be just dry from the alcohol. You're going to be free of all the stuff that made you drink in the first place. Even though it's really hard work, it's totally worth it, because if it wasn't worth it and didn't work, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. And that's just the reality of the situation. But I'm happy that I am. I'm happy that I get to help you through this process and point you in the right direction, and I'm honored to have your time and to have you as part of all of this. So thank you so very much. All right. And if you guys are finding this really valuable, just do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, because that would help this video get out to others who might need it. Of course, speaking of that topic, I would love it if you shared this video with anyone and everyone who needs to hear these messages so that they too can have an amazing, sober life. And then, of course, I would love it if you considered subscribing, and be sure to hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of the episodes that I release every single week, and you're the first to know when I release those episodes. And until I see you again, I hope that you'll check out that playlist right over there. That's the beginning of this series, and maybe even that video right down there. All right, my friends. One thing I like to say until I see you again: be authentic, be fearless, be you, and everything else will fall into place. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll see you next week. Bye.